Hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and welcome back to Dark Souls 2, Let's Talk Lore. This is episode 16, and before I start talking about things, there's someone who wants to talk to us.
Drang Lake is no longer. Brave undead, seek the throne. Follow the symbol of the monarch, and do what must be done. Brave undead,
So, if you didn't know, after you speak to Nishandra the first time, you can actually come back and she gives you additional direction as to what it is you're supposed to do. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So, Nishandra mentions that Drang Lake is no longer. Very interesting. Referring, presumably, to the fact that Drang Lake, the kingdom as it was known, was built by King Vendrick. And now that, as we've witnessed, Vendrick is merely a shell of his former self. He's a hollow husk of a man. Certainly no king. As far as Nishandra is concerned, it's no longer. And so she mentions that we should seek the throne. You'll notice that the Emerald Herald is not there yet. So keep that in mind. So it's March 14th today. It's been about 4 days since I last uploaded a video. Since I last actually recorded a video, episode 15. And there are a few reasons for that. As I've mentioned or at least as I've implied in the past, I'm a graduate student, PhD student to be more precise, and I have a lot. I just got approved or accepted to present at two different conferences, one in April and one in May. And so I've been working on some conference papers, as well as the bigger pain in the rear, and that is the fact that something seems to be going on with YouTube's process for processing uploads. In that I uploaded episode 12, I think it was, probably 4 or 5 times before I was able to get it to move beyond the processing phase. After you finish uploading a video, it says just, please wait while the video is processing. And it would just freeze, whether it's 0%, 50%, whatever the case was. The same thing happened to a number of my uploads. So I've been just trying over and over and over again, which is why there was a gap of 1 day where I didn't upload anything. But I'll continue talking about that in a minute. I mentioned in a previous episode that I had a plan for ensuring that we completed Benhart's questline, and that plan is to, before obtaining the Ashen Miss Heart, and therefore being able to fight Nishandra, we're going to summon Benhart for Throne Watcher and Defender. Take them out first, so that we can separate out the final boss fights. Or at least we're going to attempt to take them out. Not going terribly well so far. They don't seem at all concerned or interested in Benhart. There we go, okay. Yeah, so it's been a couple days since I've been able to upload or record a video. So I'm going to be a little bit rusty because I haven't been playing very much of late. Ouch. Let's switch their attention on dying. Holy moly. Benhart's doing alright, tanking some damage. He does have a shield that is supposed to be his. I'm not sure why he seemingly never uses it, because you can see in his offhand, it doesn't seem like he's holding anything there at all. And so the Throne Watcher and Defender are very interesting because it doesn't seem as though they are allied in any way, shape, or form with Nishandra. It seems very much like they were placed there, it's unclear by whom, to protect the throne from Nishandra, or from any other person who might be who might have more nefarious intentions. So of course, since we don't have the Ashen Mist's Heart, the boss fight ends there. And interestingly as well, that both of their souls are darkened. Soul of the Throne Defender. The throne of the king is sacred and requires an appropriate guardian. Soul of the Throne Watcher. The throne of the king is sacred and must be observed closely at all times. Interesting. So, you may recall as well in the last couple of episodes, I discussed the difference, or the blue lightning that is used by the Looking Glass Knight, the Alon Knights, and as you may have noticed in that boss fight, also by the Throne Watcher, but not the Throne Defender, who buffs his or her sword with the more golden yellow lightning that we're used to. And so, very interesting, because in Dark Souls 1 there was really no distinction. If you saw a faith-based miracle or spell or something of the sort, it was generally just golden. And so, we are, for the second episode in a row, going to have some very, very heavy lore stuff coming up, both in terms of dialogue, but also in terms of implicit storytelling as well. So I haven't slept all night. I was rearranging my desk/entertainment center for Bloodborne, because since I purchased my PlayStation 4, it's essentially just I've barely used it, because it's more or less just a Bloodborne machine. And my desk was just a mess of wires and dust and all that stuff. So one of those IKEA desks with an adjustable platform on which the screen and the television stand. So I had to, take out some screws, put them back in, raise it up, so that I can have a nice, clean, dust-free home for my 360, my PS4, and my PC. So, without further ado, a very tear-jerking bit of dialogue coming up with Lucatiel. And I sincerely hope that I have fulfilled her quest line, because if not, the only way to get her armor so that we can read the descriptions would be to kill her, and I'm not going to do that. So, let's see.
Who are you? Oh. No, forgive me. I know you. Yes, of course. How goes your journey? I know not what you seek in this faraway land, but I pray for your safety. Please take these. Consider this thanks for keeping me sane. My name is Lucatiel. I beg of you, remember my name, for I may not myself.
That last line always gives me goosebumps. And so she thanks us for apparently keeping her sane. Mirrah Greatsword. Greatsword issued to the proud knights of Mirrah's official order. This one was wielded by Lucatiel. This greatsword demands advanced skill in a rare and unique sword technique. A tiny message is inscribed in the blade, a promise to someone special. So the only someone special we know related to Lucatiel is Astoril. And so, and there is also the old Mirrah Greatsword, which is a very rare drop from Astoril, whom I've killed probably about 100 times, and I've never gotten the old Mirrah Greatsword to drop. So, the old Mirrah Greatsword is essentially identical, but the only thing that's different is the blurb about a message being inscribed. So, what I hypothesized for that in the process of making my lore video on Lucatiel, and obviously it wasn't made explicit given the style of the video and how I made it, but I hypothesized that they made promises to each other that as soon as, perhaps they became aware of the curse, that if one of them went hollow, then the other one would put them out of their misery. And so again, keeping in mind the loose and shifting connections between worlds, as soon as we sit at the bonfire, our world and Lucatiel's are no longer aligned. So, why is she out there? Did she make it inside here to fight her brother? My contention is that yes, absolutely she did. And obviously there are two potential outcomes to what could have happened there. I can never remember which side it is, so thank you to that helpful message that contains that Twilight Herb. And that is either she beat Astoril or Astoril beat her. I firmly believe that she beat Astoril. On the basis of all that which I've discussed so far, in particular, the fact that she spends so much time helping the player, and thus learning from the player in ways that Astoril couldn't possibly do, because all he does is invade. And so that she was able to use all of that, all the tricks of the trade, I guess, to surpass her brother. And recall that she mentions that she never beat him, not once, and that her whole life she basically defined herself. Her sense of self was defined by her striving to be better than her brother. So it stands to reason that being here in Drangleic, helping, dropping her sign as many places as possible, helping other players, that she accumulated souls, she accumulated knowledge, she eventually acquired the ability to, surpass her brother and take him out. And so why is she out there hollowing? The reason, as far as I'm concerned, is that she has fulfilled her purpose. Because remember, when you go capital H hollow, you have essentially lost your purpose, and you've lost hope. She lost hope because her brother is hollow, capital H hollow, and has been for quite some time. And she's fulfilled her purpose. She no longer has a purpose, and that is she no longer is inferior to her brother. So she has basically nothing left to prove to anyone, or more to the point, nothing left to prove to herself. And the other very interesting question is, what is it that caused Aslutil to go hollow? It could have been this somewhat obvious and pathetic trap. Maybe he walked in here and got blindsided by this disappearing set of dragon bones? And why are these dragon bones there to begin with? I really do want to spend some time talking about Navlaan, but as I mentioned in the last few episodes, I fear that we won't have the time to do so, because we would have to we would have to die, essentially, to be lowercase h hollow in order to speak with him, or to speak with the dark side of him.
Please, just stay away. No, please, don't come near me. Nothing good will come of it. Just leave me alone, please. Leave this place and leave me be, as I'd not see any harm befall you.
And so, it's heavily implied, or I heavily implied it in the lore video that I made, that one of the reasons, or perhaps the reason that Aslutil hollowed, was that he was dumb enough to walk past all of these developer messages in his world, pull the switch, at which point Navlaan started invading him. And of course, Mirrah Knights tend to look disfavorably on magic. And so whereas Lucatiel has surely come across many players in her time engaging in Jolly Cooperation who were using magic, she might have been able to handle it. But Aslutil, no such luck. Because he just basically speedran his way through the game until he got here, and then he went hollow. It's also possible that he went hollow by virtue of these fellers, who once again, what is this? You there, buddy? This is another connection to the Looking Glass Knight, and more support for the theory that the Looking Glass Knight is Sir Sion himself, and is a product of Aldian experiments. Because, of course, the Looking Glass Knight carries a mirror, very similar to this one, or very similar to these on the walls here, and outside of the mirrors step mirror squires. Did I just aggro more than one at a time? I might have. Okay. Their AI seems to be glitched in some strange way, but yeah, another very strong, more strong support for the theory described in, I believe it was episode 12 or 13, to support the idea that, yeah, the Looking Glass Knight was not only Sir Sion, but was also the product of an Aldian experiment after being dishonorably slaughtered, I believe the item description said, in the war against the Giants. Slaughtered most dishonorably, I believe it said. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff. can't recall what's in here, because honestly I usually skip this entire floor. Oh, great magic barrier. No need for that, but let's check and see if it's got any interesting lore. Ah, superior miracle to magic barrier increases blah blah blah. The Knights of Mirrah are expected to fight honorably with reliance only upon swordsmanship. They only resort to magic the only time they need it, to face the magic of an enemy. So, perhaps lending additional credence to the idea, or to my hypothesis, that Lucatiel was perhaps stubborn about using magic to fight off Navlaan after having freed him. Oh, come on. Come on, iframes. I'm not terribly good at fighting these guys up close. Exhibit A. I'm gonna get him to sit down. Come on, sit down. There you go. So the only reason we killed him is because of what he drops. The Dragon Acolyte Mask. Mask worn by acolytes of Aldia. Several of the greatest minds converged in Aldia. I presume that's supposed to mean Aldia's keep, to weave strange new rituals, but rumors suggest that during the course of their work, their thoughts were not their own. The nebulous face of the mask is designed to deflect the ire of the ritual sacrifice. Very interesting. Not sure, again, in order to fully deconstruct this game, you would need to be someone with a much better eye for iconography than I have. But certainly I imagine if you could uncover the cultural influences that led FromSoft to put certain things in certain areas, that you might learn a great deal about the lore of the game itself. This place had so much potential gameplay-wise as well. It's certainly beautiful, but it's unfortunate that it's just basically a linear path from beginning to end. We're not going to bother with that feller over there. We are going to use a Pharaoh's Lockstone here. And so we can see that Aldia, yeah, lots of cages for lots and lots of experiments. You see there's I believe a Dragon Acolyte hiding behind the painting here. This painting, not entirely clear what that is, but it certainly appears to be burned or washed out in some way, shape, or form. I wonder if you put this side by side with some of the paintings from Anor Londo, whether you might find something. Of course, too pixelated to be able to read what is written on that book there. I think that's the exact same painting. Yep, exact same painting. I have some ogres, which of course are an Aldian creation. Alright. Usually you can use your shield to rid yourself of that. And this is, as I mentioned in the episode when we went to Sinner's Rise, you can see that this feller here is another Aldian creation. Presumably a failed attempt at creating a dragon. The whole dragon thing is not something I really understand, so I won't be able to speak too much, or at least I won't be able to speak intelligibly about yeah, the significance of much of that. You can see Aldia was also a fan of Mountain Dew. A fair bit of Mountain Dew over here. It's actually not entirely clear what all of this is here. Dragon blood? Giant's blood, maybe? Or some... We have a set of scales up here. A pot that is strangely floating. I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be, but looks like it's for mixing substances. Another set of scales here. More pots for mixing things. So yeah, there was clearly some really dark and dreary stuff going on here. This is something that I find very, very interesting about Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 is, and I mentioned earlier in the episode that yes, I'm a PhD student, and a lot of the way that I look at the Souls games and their lore is very much, of course, influenced by what I've learned in my studies so far, and my perspective on my studies has changed in turn based on what I've learned throughout playing both the Souls games. It's not a one-way thing, but certainly I don't think I would be able to look at the Souls games in quite the same way if I didn't have my particular views about how history works and about the fallaciousness, the falseness of of top-down historical accounts, whereby you have a story about a great man, and it's always a great man, who does some great thing and, you know, or creates something brilliant, saves some, you know, group of people from X, Y, and Z. And it's always kind of clear and vivid detail, but in reality, it's much like it is in the Souls games when you're doing history. Things are fragmented, and you have to piece together what it is that... Oh, cannot use bonfire. I believe I'm being invaded. I should probably put my rings back on then. This will be the first invasion of the series if I am in fact being invaded. Yes, I am. Interesting. Well, let's hope I don't make a fool out of myself then. And let's hope that this person... Hello? In here. Are they trying to be cute? Come on. In here. Wasted about half of my buff. Okay. Wow. Should have switched to my longsword. I'm realizing that now. But alas, yes, GG, close indeed. Notwithstanding the fact that you were trying to lure me into the enemies. The reason I ran back into the room here, I was trying to make him think that I was going to go heal, which is not something I ever do. And it almost worked, but because I have never used the rapier in PvP, I wasn't quite sure how to handle that. These guys, interestingly enough, use life gems and not Estus, which would indicate that they're not undead. Or at least they're not undead in the same sense that the player is undead. Dragon Acolyte boots. I imagine the same description as the helmet, but let's see. Yep, other than these practical boots are designed to prevent the acolyte from slipping on the blood of the sacrifice. Yup. And incidentally, there's many bloodstains in here. So this proud knight here, yeah, not a great place to die. And you know, you will have noticed that when we walked into the room, one of the dragon acolytes was hunched over him doing something. Don't know what. We have a bunch of different weapons. This is the weapon that in Dark Souls 1, Man-Eater Mildred, and Dark Souls 2, I don't recall the name of the equivalent invader, but it's the weapon that they use. Then you have the Half Moon Sickle, so indicating that the undead steelworkers, perhaps, are also the product of Aldian's experiments? I'm not sure. What are the weapons that we have over here? I'm sure these are so much weapons as they are just, yeah, torture devices, it looks like. Similar over here. Some really just messed up stuff. But to return to what I was saying before we so rudely got interrupted by that invader, that the Souls games are very interesting in that it's an Eastern developer making a Western game about that critiques Western culture in various subtle ways, and this is, whereas the other ones you could pass off as an experiment, this looks very clearly like, if not practically a torture, if not literally a torture machine, it's practically a torture machine. Or a torture device or a contraption of some sort. And in particular, especially in Dark Souls 1 with the Duke's Archives and with Big Hat Logan, the issue of science and of, you know, at what cost do you continue to accumulate knowledge? And in both Dark Souls 1 and 2, there are cautionary tales, seemingly, about the types of stuff that, what can go wrong when you have in mind just a when you have a single-minded devotion to the pursuit of that knowledge. So very interesting, that coming from an Eastern developer. Hello, my friend. I need you to do me a favor. Yep, break that. I need you to break one more thing, just this wall over here. Come on, please. Thank you. Oh no. Whew. That was a close one. Ah, this was not the wall that I needed broken. It was one of them, but... You can tell when it's not a chest that I check very often when I hit it to make sure it's not a mimic. Malformed skull, I believe that is... One of the malformed weapons developed in Aldia. Swung like a great hammer, appears to be a fragment of a giant shell, but its precise origins are unknown. The peculiar figure known as Lord Aldia attempted to uncover the secrets of life itself, and viewed the undead as the key to this mystery. So... This is a malformed skull. And I'm trying to get a good look at it. No idea of what, though. I assumed that it would be that of a giant. And I suppose it still could be, but given the fact that it's malformed, but yeah. Aldia's no saint, that's for sure. So where's the other one I need opened up? Oh, well, I guess I don't need it opened up. It's just this right here. So we have another dragon acolyte who hasn't noticed this yet. What is he working on there? What you working on there, buddy? That looks very much like a dragon's head. And this is probably the most depressing scene in the whole game. Just... God. Like... If you didn't feel bad for the giants at this point, or up until this point, then you have to feel bad for the giants now. Because look at this. And you can see pretty clearly that... Nope. It appears as though that dragon acolyte killed himself, perhaps by walking against the spikes in the fence there. But yeah, just that the blood of these giants, in some way, shape, or form, is an ingredient in the corrosive liquid that we find across, and presumably the corrosive mist that we find across Dragon Lake. And just piled on top of each other like that is just gruesome. But so, we are going to take care of the boss now. At my timer, I'm at about 40 minutes, but cutting out all the loading screens and stuff, I'm sure it'll be a little bit below that. I'm not going to fight that one, that ogre. But there may be some episodes for the remainder of the playthrough that run closer to an hour. I assume I want to try and take care of each of the DLCs in a single episode, which I imagine will take at least an hour. In particular for the Ivory King DLC, because I still get lost, to be perfectly honest. I'm pretty good on the Sunken King DLC in terms of knowing where to go and how to get through everything really quickly. Okay at the Iron King DLC, not at the Ivory King DLC though. Wonderful, amazing DLC, but my knowledge of it is nowhere near as advanced as it is for the rest of the game. Ouch. come on, land so I can finish you off, please. Thank you. Oh, I missed. I could have finished him off there. There's probably a lock on. No. Please, Guardian Dragon. Fingers stuck off my thumbstick there. That was very close to being a very embarrassing death. I don't know if I've ever died to this boss. This is always the first time. Dang. Picked up a dragon scale. We're gonna get to the next bonfire before we call it an episode. But first we're gonna check out that dragon scale we just picked up, which a scale from the body of an ancient dragon, offered to the dragon to bring your own flesh closer to that of the eternal ancient dragon. Touching an ancient dragon scale gives one a glimpse into the abyss. Believers in the dragon will rise above this petty corporeal existence. Guardian Dragon. Soul of the dragon that guards the path to the shrine. Do the dragons watch over the land of their own will, or are they in the grip of one of Aldia's spells? I would imagine the latter, given all that we just witnessed. The terrible atrocities that Aldia was willing to commit in order to, satisfy his desire to try and figure out the soul and life and all that.
Bearer of the curse, long have I awaited one such as you. One who might shatter the shackles of fate. One who can set me free. Bearer of the curse, it was my own manifestation that led you here. The ancient dragon has watched over the world for eons past. Take this. Do not resist. The dragon welcomes you.
An aged bird feather, returned to last bonfire rested at, can be used repeatedly. The child of the dragon, sequestered away from the world. Imagine a world of boundless possibilities from the mere sight of a feather. So, very interesting and paradoxical thing about this feather. There was some cut dialogue from a child version of the Emerald Herald, and that is not the child version of the Emerald Herald, as some suspected early on in the game. But there is some cut dialogue that indicates that it was actually the player that gave Child Emerald Herald the feather. And so it's hard to figure out where things fit in the lore when they were cut out, and whether or not that still remains valid, but certainly very interesting. When the player gives the feather to the Child Emerald Herald, it's just the feather. But when she gives it back to you, it's the aged feather, indicating that, perhaps eons have passed since the feather was gifted to the Emerald Herald, and then she gives it back to you. Don't know what that means, but it creates a paradox, of which there are many, many time-related paradoxes in this game. And as soon as we get the Ashen Mist Heart in the next episode, we will discover some more of those. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.